Mercury Jupiter trine on, well, looks like Monday, February 3rd.
Yeah, if we post this by then, yeah. And also Venus going into Aries, those two things in that one day are indicators of what's happening in the big picture, which is Uranus getting to Gemini to trine Pluto, and Saturn and Neptune getting to Aries to be sextile to both of those two planets in trine. So we're having actually the exact same thing with slower planets, or excuse me, faster planets, but closer into the Earth and Sun area, the Venus and Mercury, and then Jupiter's, it's a social planet, but still it's the quicker moving one. So those guys are going to give us a flavor. Everyone's like, what's happening? Everything's changing, everybody's panicking. What's happening is Monday we get a clue to a bigger picture that's coming. And like we saw something talking about alien guy and more information if you're into that. There's lots of things. We're saying Pluto and Aquarius, aliens, AI. And
there's really nothing more interesting than aliens, but then who's an alien really? Maybe we're the aliens. Maybe this is their planet. Come on.
Whatever.
It could be. Yeah. So please continue.
Oh, there's more? Well,
yeah.
So again, I just said the parallels of the personal planets of Jupiter this Monday it'll give us clues to the outer planets. And what else is going on? I mean, everything's changing. Everyone's stressed. The golden rule is nobody likes change. And that's the constant. Everything changes. We want to be comfortable and not have to keep adapting and learning. But everything's ramping up. And I'm telling you right now, like I said, Monday gives you a taste of the flavor. But when Uranus goes into Gemini, Mercury's exalted in Aquarius. And then Uranus will be in Mercury sign, Gemini. And it's very fast, very mutable, thinking extremely fast. Extremely. So, people are like, oh, somebody go, oh, I got through January. It's like January, we're kind of ramping into this slowly because the personal planets of Mercury, Venus, and Mars, they're all retrograding and overlapping each other by shadow, at least. They're all overlapping. So the personal planets, which is us doing our day-to-day routines and it's like our own little toolbox, as a Virgo would say, but other people, your emotions or whatever it is, the fire, the passion, the intellect, the air signs thinking. The personal planets are all in a retrograde motion at some point. So I feel you if you're saying this, the frustration, I can't get forward, or I'm trying to do this and there's other things I didn't calculate, or things are going wrong, there's delays, or it's not turning out how I thought. Yeah, those are the kind of Mercury retrograde and moonboard of course, and we've also had the Venus retrograde and the Mars retrograde. Or Venus is coming out, Mars is just finishing by the 23rd of February. So we got about 3 weeks to go. But anyways, the personal planets, don't feel frustrated or bad. It's just the outer planets are all changing signs this year, and then they're all going to make their aspects hard next year. So it's like, again, it's a slow ramp up. We got the personal planets going backwards. So we're learning and adapting and rethinking and retrying, because that's how you succeed is trying stuff and then just growing from it. Not saying it's bad or wrong or you fail. It's just experiment. I love Kobe Bryant. He's like, I don't fail. I'm just learning what I have to work on more. So the frustration of, the new year started and Mars was retrograde and in Cancer, and it's a detriment sign, the opposite of where it loves to be exalted in Capricorn. And then we had Mercury opposing Jupiter again in each other's signs, so they're each other's detriments. So the communication, we're hearing all kinds of blah, 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 but it's like the communication planets, Mercury and Jupiter, rule all immutable signs. We've added Neptune for Pisces, but basically those are the old original rulers, and they're retrograde in each other's signs. It's the communication. Don't stress and panic about it. Just keep working on your thing. And this is all about going inside. I mean, Mars and Cancer is like, go home and be home, do your thing. So it's okay. It's frustrating. It's delayed. We don't know. It's not going the way I said, blah, blah, blah. But it's kind of getting open to change and how things are going to really speed up later. So yes.
Question. Yeah, could you talk a little bit about that Mars retrograde right now in Cancer? It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, Cancer, Mars is exalted in Capricorn. It loves Aries. It's in its detriment opposite in Libra. But that's a more mundane. If you have it personally in your chart, Mars in Libra is very good at strategy. But anyways, in Capricorn it's exalted, but then when we exalt it, we do the opposite sign. It's in its fall, and which is Cancer. Mars is in Cancer. It started in Leo. It's stationed right on the north node of the U.S. and went back to Cancer, and it'll start going forward at what do I say, February 23rd. Yes, at 17 Cancer, and it'll start. It starts out slow, but it'll get going. It'll move quick because it's interesting. Venus and Mars, especially Mars, is the closest speed and orbit size of Earth. So there's a real slingshot kind of thing, because we're always talking about let's see if I can make a nice pendulum. It's like planets move, and then from our perspective, they stop and then they go retrograde, they go backwards, and then they stop and station direct and go back the other way. And they're the fastest at the bottom of the pendulum, and they come to a dead stop at the top of the pendulum. So they're always swinging. So Mars is going in Cancer. It's going to back up to 17, and it's going to stop on the 23rd. And then it's going to start going forward, picking up speed and heading past its shadow and moving on later signs of the zodiac. But then Venus, what do we have? Venus, March 1st, just a week and less than a week, basically. It's going to retrograde at 10 Aries and go back to 24 Pisces. So like I said, they're overlapping. So those are the personal planets, the Aries and Libra, the Mars and Venus, and the relationship planets. They're one's going forward while the other one's backwards. And then as soon as the other one starts going forward, the other one goes backwards. So again, the frustration, don't worry about it. Just keep trying and learning and being open-minded.
Okay. Well, so did you want to cover the Venus going into Aries on Tuesday a little bit? I mean, what can people what should we be doing exactly?
Well, again, that's another theme. Like I said, Mars does not like being in Cancer. Venus does not like being in Aries. It's in the opposite sign and it's detriment. So again, Venus is what you want and desire, and it's in the opposite sign of Aries is the Mars type energy. Mars is like, go get it, and Venus wants to be receptive and kind of watch what things are going on. The great observers, Libra sign, they're good at observing. So but now it's in the action, and it's like, what do I do? But some people are good at action personally, but as a whole energy of the society.
I mean, for people that are looking for love, isn't this a great opportunity?
Well, if you got fire signs, yeah.
Go get it.
Well, you can be proactive, that's for sure. But Venus and Aries, I know some people works out just great because they have a lot of fire energy. But Venus and Aries is like they're too pretty, or it happens too fast, stuff like that. So sometimes it won't work. But if you have that propensity and that energy style, it might work very well. Again, saying things are good and bad, it depends on your chart and how you relate to that energy.
Right. Well, what about someone with Venus in a fire sign like Sag or Leo? Are they going to enjoy?
Time. It's a trine.
Yeah, they're going to enjoy this.
The floodgates are open. Yeah.
And then someone with Venus in Gemini or in Aquarius, it's making a sextile. So isn't that?
Yeah, and again, it's clues to where we're heading to. The outer planets doing the same signs, within the next couple of years. It's like, how does that feel, and how does that relate to my Venus, is my desires and what I really want or what I really need? Like Venus is that quiet to the heart. I love Dane Rudyard that Venus is on the inside orbit of the Earth and Mars is on the outside, the yang side and the yin side. It's like, so that quiet voice up in your mind, in your head, or your meditation or prayer, whatever you do, it's like, what resonates or rings true for me for what I want and desire and need. So,
all these years, I never really thought about it that way. Venus is on the inside and Mars on the outside.
Yeah, well, that's Dane Rudyard. That guy.
Holy crap!
That guy's like he's a poet. He's probably a Zen master or something. He's a wordsmith.
Right.
He's like this genius guy. And some people complain because you read his books, it's very wordy. He doesn't have a word under 15 syllables in the whole book.
He doesn't.
But for me, when I read it, and I'm the greatest reader, I have a stigmatism, but when I read it, it's like this all makes sense, or it flows with me. So he's got tons of tidbits of little ways of thinking about stuff, or again, the genius, it's like listening to Jim Morrison lyrics. It's like he says 3 words and you're like, you get it, like real poetry. It's fascinating.
Right.
At least for me. Some people, he's too wordy or whatever. But again, a basic rule I always talk about is what rings true for you. They're like, oh, Sean, tell me all this stuff. It's like, well, find people, I'm going to do some stuff or what you like, but find people that ring true with you and what you like, and you can listen to them over and over, and it connects. They're right 90% of the time, or whatever, or it seems to ring true and you get something out of it. Just find things that work with you, just like picking friends or a vocation or, your religion or whatever. It's like, just do what works for you, but be in charge of deciding that, and don't listen to other people.
Wow. Okay. So
I'm getting too airy. Okay, I'm going to Earth mode.
Yeah,
I'm grounded now. I'm in Earth mode.
So now I'm back to February 3rd with Mercury trine Jupiter, and Jupiter going direct on the 4th. Did we really cover that? What does that mean?
Well, it's direct. It's one of the things to keep in mind when a planet stations retrograde or direct is it's stopping. Again, it's a pendulum from our perspective. It's slowed down and it's going to change direction. In this case, it's retrograde. But one way to think about it is it's very focused. People go, oh no, it's going retrograde. Like within a few days, it's not really going to move from our perspective, especially the outer, slower moving planets. Jupiter's the first one that starts to go slow, kind of. Mars is similar to us, but anyways, it's a very focused point. Jupiter's your philosophy, and Jupiter right now is in Gemini, like we talked about earlier. That's in its detriment. So it's like big philosophies versus very simple, basic, mutable thought. They're both mutable, but Mercury's very quick and laissez-faire. Whereas
Jupiter. Okay, we talked about Jupiter going direct.
Wait a second, we haven't been in the water.
What?
Well, Jupiter rules Pisces and
right.
Sag, but also right now other planets are getting ready to change and then make aspects next year, but we're still early 2025 as we make this, but in 2026 they'll start making all these aspects to Pluto, and we're sticking with the water planets right now. Saturn, or positioned planets, Saturn and Neptune are in later Pisces. Saturn's catching up.
Right.
And, they're going to start tangling with going over that magical 29 degrees. Pisces is so intense, and people with the planets placements there, they see so much. I mean, at the nth degree of Pisces, of understanding and bringing in all kinds of, intense or beautiful information. But we're, again, working to that early Aries, which is the sextile to the Pluto, and moving on Uranus. Yeah. So they're in water right now. So it's, again, it's another indicator of, instead of with the same as the retrograde planets, personal planets, these are outer planets. They're in Pisces. It's like dream, meditate, take a bath, walk in the nature in a park, or go to a museum, work that stuff. And don't worry about being productive, but being receptive, and then always write something down. Have something tangible to remember where you're at in this spacey, dreamy, envisioning kind of thing. And then write it down. So when you get into Virgo mode and specifics, you can take action on it, but you have a touchstone idea or seed to work from. That's another Jane Rundra thing. He divvies up all the sections of the zodiac, and like Pisces is the germination part of the seed. It's like, I had this brilliant idea, but it's like you hear musicians are like, I got to write it down. You always have a pad and paper by your bedside or wherever you're at, or your phone, text yourself or whatever, or email yourself. But it's like, write it down, because later you won't be in dream state and you won't be accessible necessarily to all those ideas. But then you have it a tangible, concrete thing, and you're like, oh yeah, and that'll bring you back, and then you can work on producing that idea or advancing your goal or vision, to have a grounded type thing. So yeah, you're going to go from the water to our buddy. I'm back in Earth, grounded.
Cool.
This is my new thing. Okay, so we're going to do some passion. Well, we already talked about the Aries. What else is going on? Or are we back to air? I don't know. We'll be happy to expand on it or go in a different direction or whatever. I mean, we're open to whatever, and you'll quickly learn our style, and hopefully we can work together and make some good content. And we want it interactive with people. That's what it's all about. Aquarius is like group focused on one thing. What do you want to focus on?